at what point growing up did you realize that your dad's different? Hey guys, got a really cool video for you. This is part 1 of 4, my interview with Kris Van Damme. We're going to go over all kinds of stuff. We're going to address a previous video that I had that featured Sheldon Lettich.
Is that a real, that's a real cat, isn't it?
Writer of Bloodsport, Double Impact Lionheart, directed Double Impact and Lionheart, obviously, and some other amazing films. And also AJ Von Bacher, who you probably know around these parts as Michael Jai White's biggest fan.
I would fight Michael Jai White so people can open their eyes into how much he sucks. Because if I fight him, he's done with one kick.
Right, maybe not his biggest fan, but certainly his most outspoken. But anyway, in this video, we're going to talk about a few different things. Basically, getting unique insight in this candid interview on what's it like growing up Van Damme's son. It's a very unique experience and kind of a big shadow that somebody like Kris would live under. So anyway, all that and more. Make sure to help support the channel. I mean, who else is giving you this stuff? Support the channel. Hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, and let's get on to part 1 of this interview with Kris. Hey, let me ask you real quick, just out of curiosity, because I'm always amazed of the people that like run across one of my videos, you know, and I'm like, wow, Van Damme's son seen a video, you know, like it's incredible. Like, how'd you come across it anyway? I mean, obviously it's about you, the one that I made, but.
No, it's no worries. I came across through a very good friend of mine who's likes to help me out and always kind of look out for me, you know, out there in the world. And he has a lot of respect for our family, like you do. And always looking out for, you know, people saying things that aren't true or true. And quite frankly, I've been approached so many times to do podcasts, and I've only done less than a handful.
That's why I'm honored, man, because it's like you're not really out there doing these all the time. And I'm like, wow, I'm so happy to get you. And the audience is just going to be blown away.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate it. But it's funny because you know, I get a lot of these links from a lot of people. Hey, look, you're mentioned here. Hey, look, you're mentioned there. Sure. Why don't you say something about it? Why don't you respond? I've been through this so many times. I'm 35 and I've been through, you know, I carry the weight of my father's name on my shoulder, and so does my sister and my brother. And we all have that heavy looming shadow, but it's not as heavy as it seems unless you make it heavy. So I just kind of ignore, you know, all the offers and all this. But there's some things that you know, in your last podcast that I overheard that I said, okay, you know, that's not true, you know. And I went through it, I listened to it, I said, these things aren't true, and these people are saying some things that aren't necessary to be said, and you know, they act as if they know some things, and I find it amusing. So I said, you know what, for once I'm gonna do a podcast. I'll reply. Why not? Let's do it. Because you know,
is awesome.
My friend was like, yeah, just do it. Stay the way you are. You're a diplomatic guy. You're not political. Just relax. And okay, all right, cool. You know, so why not? Let's give it a shot.
That's awesome. Thanks again so much for your time.
You too, man. Thanks.
You know, you did kind of mention like the big shadow that your dad casts. Now, the very interesting thing about your dad is he's not just a movie star. Like there's a lot of movie stars. He's something different. Like he's one of what you could count on one hand of like this, more than just an action star, even like Stallone or Schwarzenegger. He's like this guy who just came out at the right time, and he just inspired so many people like me as like a martial artist. See, I don't even really care so much about like the movie star side. Movies were just like a vehicle where we could be exposed to like great martial arts, because we didn't have the UFC or MMA. I mean, maybe you had Black Belt Magazine, but those are pictures. So to see somebody perform, even though it's like a movie, but to perform so gracefully and fluidly and just, I don't know, that's why your dad's different, you know, as like, we were exposed to him because of the movies, but that's what I really like about him. More the martial artist, not so much the movie star. So
yeah, he's a real deal. And you know, Stallone too. I mean, he's got his stories, and my father knows Stallone and speaks very highly of him. He's a great actor. He's a great producer. He's a great filmmaker. And you know, just like my pops, Stallone has, you know, fought his way to where he needs to be, and pull my hat to both of them, because again, it wasn't easy. It was the first of their time. You know, Brandon Lee was coming out, and he was doing really well and God rest his soul. If it wasn't for his death, I think he would have been where Keanu Reeves is now. But
Oh, big time.
like with the Matrix and all that. But my father, he came in. He says it a lot in some of his interviews. Right place, right time. But he worked really hard to get to
Oh,
where.
sure, absolutely.
And Sheldon explains it really well in your podcast and in other interviews he's done. My father and Sheldon were kind of, they lived close to each other in the very beginning before I was born, from what I heard, and they made it together, and they were this dynamic duo writing scripts at night, late at night, and they were very close, and they still are very close. They've got that friendship that's buried in the sands of time, but it's still there, it's still connected, and it's beautiful. And Sheldon's Uncle Sheldon to me, always. So
Okay.
I grew up with his daughters, and he's a great guy. Sorry, I'm going to silence this. He's a great guy. His wife, Tony's fantastic. His daughters are great. They're good friends of mine. And I remember I think it was almost every weekend we used to go and barbecue at his place. It was really cool. And, the circle still kind of lives. And that's what's great about Sheldon is he keeps that circle alive, and he keeps that family feel alive. So it's really nice to have heard his voice. I haven't heard from him personally in a long time, but if he calls me, it's like I spoke to him yesterday. He's a good man.
Okay.
Yeah, my pop's right time, I think, but also perseverance and consistency, dude. I mean, before he even came to the States, he told me stories where he was really trying to make it out in Europe first, and did some things here and there, Monaco forever and all that jazz, and then he came over, and a lot of adventures, a lot of sacrifices, but in the end, it paid off. He made it. And here he
Oh,
is.
definitely, man. And that, again, like you mentioned, Stallone, that's what he and Stallone have in common. And again, that's why we're inspired by the real life struggles and perseverance. And these are guys that just, they made it for various reasons. And the reason why I always kind of gravitated more toward being a Van Damme fan is because reading about him being this skinny kid with glasses and just transforming himself into like an action star. And I'm just like, well, I'm this pathetic skinny kid with glasses. Let me start lifting weights and doing martial arts too, so I could be more like that, So
cool, man. It's always really cool hearing people say that my father inspired them. It makes me feel really proud, and it makes me it takes away all the burden of that hype and that shadow, because that's the real truth behind it, is the inspiration he gives to millions of people around the world. And it makes me realize, we're all different people. I was born half him, half my mom, and I've got DNA from both of them, and my mind is completely different than that of my father's, but I have some traits, and same with my mother, and I have some traits, and same with my brother from his mom, because in 92, they divorced, my mother and my father, and then they remarried in 99. But throughout those years, my brother was born, and so I'm very grateful for that. And his mother is a very great woman too. Darcy Lapierre is a great woman. She works hard for her kids, and she's a hands in the earth kind of girl, and very, very straightforward, which is great. And Nick grew up that way, and grew up with animals on a ranch, and made him very hard and real. And Bianca is very similar to me, but she kind of was more close to my mother and her side than my father and his side. So I was raised more on the European front, even though we were together most of the time. The mentality was a bit different because of some pockets in our life we were separated, But we all carry our own characteristics based on what we've experienced with and without our father. And what's his name, AJ Van Backer, I think it was.
Yeah.
What AJ said.
Listen, though, I don't think Van Damme wants someone to be better than him ever. I mean, you and I are saying right now no one is ever going to get there, which in many ways I think is true. Of course, no one's ever going to be him or be Bruce Lee. But I don't think he personally wants that, because if he wanted that, he would have put his kid out there. And by now, trust me, his kid would have been the star, not him. That's not true.
Our father having a large ego and trying to not want us to be successful isn't true, because in the film industry, my father has put me in movies as a kid, and I haven't really pursued as much as one would say I should have, and one would say I get why you didn't. And the reason why is because this industry is so toxic and so acidic and so full of bullshit and lies and deception, and that being the son of somebody, you think you get perks, but really you don't. You actually get taken advantage of much more than you would think the movie star would be taken advantage of. Your father or your mother being the movie star, So there's a lot of reasons why you don't see myself or my sister or my brother out there on the big screen. We love films, and our goal is to be in films and direct films and write films. In fact, my brother and I have written 7 feature films scripts,
Really? Wow.
and we have one of them interested in Belgium with a guest star of our father, and a couple others that are interested by some producers right now looking at it. But these things take time when you're doing them the right way. David, when you're doing things the right way nowadays, it's like you're going back in time almost. It's like counterproductive, and that makes no sense to me, because you got to play this toxic game, lie behind people's back, say things behind people's back to get an edge and get a foot in the door. And that's not just who I am. I honestly prefer to be someone who's not publicly known, but does great movies and lives in the same apartment, like Sheldon explained, and makes movies for 20, 30 years with my wife next to me. I'm a happy camper, because that's what I'm here for. I'm here to make great projects. And, if one day by any chance one of our stuff gets picked up and actually financed and launched, I guarantee the world that they will enjoy what my brother and I and my sister can put on the screen, whether it's acting, whether it's directing, producing, any type of expression in art is our purpose here. This 15-year-old film, I'm not supposed to speak about too much. The title of it. There's 10 titles of it, but I'm not going to say.
I've done 2 videos on that film alone. But
oh, really? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say which title we're going with, for confidentiality reasons as of now. But it should be done in this year sometime, I think. And
really, we've been waiting, man. We've been waiting a long time.
I'm sorry, guys. But there was a lot of political conflict with the post-production over in Southeast Asia, where we were shooting the film. And at one point, they lost some of our sound stems, well, the whole movie.
Wow.
I'm being humble about it. And so we had a big legality issue, but we cleared that, and everybody went home happy. I brought the film here. I spoke to my father in 2017. I said, or early 2018, I said, Dad, I think it's time to bring it here. Let's do post-production here, and let's finish it. We did that in 2018. We finished the 2019 version, and in 2020, my father decided to reopen the movie and do an additional shoot to help benefit the story, which I think was one of the best ideas they could have done. At first, I was like, oh my God, really? And all this, we have to go back again? Are you serious? And I was in Belgium with my wife. I had contracted the Delta COVID-19 virus, and I was put out for a month. It really hit me hard. And I train every day, man. You're in shape, I'm in shape. Everybody's different. It really put me out. So I was editing some of the stuff they had shot here. My brother was directing. I wanted to direct with him. We edited in Belgium while I was sick, and then sent it back, and it looks great in the movie. Right now I'm back in LA, and I'm doing the post-production, hopefully final post-production to get this thing off the ground, man. Well, the cool thing in the story, what I can say is that there's different timelines in the story, and
okay,
and it makes sense for the cutting. So that's why that's why the additional shoot kind of helped, the present day version of my father's character compared to that year's version of my father's character and that year's version. And it was 2008, 2009, and then 2011 was a additional shoot, and then 2019 or 20 was the other additional shoot. So.
Wow.
And we shot 35mm film. We shot with
cool. Old school.
Yeah, man, it was quite the trek. It was really cool, and we had a great director of photography. It was Douglas Milsom, who did The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, and Eyes Wide Shut. He was Kubrick's kind of right arm for many years.
Let me ask you this. I gotta ask this, kind of going back a little bit. Like, at what point growing up did you realize that your dad's different? Obviously he's not going into like an office 9 to 5 and coming home like a regular guy. Right? Like, at what point were you like, my dad's different, It's a great way of asking the question, David. It's a really good way of asking the question, because that's how a kid would think about it, Yeah, exactly.
A good, nice execution. But so in the early to mid 90s is when my father started to really take off. Like, he was like the top, like 93, 94, 95, Unisol, and all those films having come out, Time Cop and all that. It was, I think it was Sudden Death also, that 95. But around that time was when, my pops would leave for like 3 months, 4 months. And then, of course, there was a divorce and all that. And he'd travel the world and do his thing. And I would ask my mother questions like, why is Dad gone so long? Doesn't it? Do movies take this long to make and all this stuff? And sometimes he'd come back and when he had a moment, like a few weeks or a month, he'd come back and see the family and all that. And I would spend time with him on different movie sets to kind of get the flair of what it's like to be on a movie set.
Mhm.
My first time on a movie set was, I believe it was, must have been Lionheart, I think. I think it was Lionheart. It was very brief, but I knew that I wanted to do this. And I knew that what my father was doing was for the benefit of the family, because as a kid, you realize, not through the house or the cars or the expensive goodies, you realize the toys and, the TVs and the child stuff. Like, we have all this stuff because of dad. Okay. That must mean he's working really hard. Okay. But what is working really hard in the movies? Okay. That's 14-hour days on set, 8-hour days on set. And I remember I'd be on set and I would fall asleep on set, and then I'd wake up and I still see him working, trailer back and forth, doing all the kicks, action cut, rain machine. The 90s was tough to shoot movies.
Sure.
Tougher than now, for sure. Now it's like a green room with CG everywhere. It's insane. But it was, it just, it was kind of difficult at times with the divorce, but this is part of it. It was their decision. They were my age now, then. And now I understand him then. And I'm saying, oh, okay, now I get it. And, putting my talent to work and reflecting off of my own style and seeing, kind of comparing, not myself to my father, but the essence of working on a movie, comparison to what he did, I have much more respect than I did as a kid, because now I understand more, and I understand his fatigue. He's done like 60 plus movies, almost 70 something movies, I think. So he's hitting almost the 100 marker line, but at the same time, the fire is still in him, and it's something that I can relate to in me. But I knew my dad was different, because you get parents picking up kids from school. He came maybe out of 8 years, 3 times to school, or maybe 5 times to school out of 8 years, something like that. But you're angry as a teenager. You're going through puberty and all that jazz, and you gotta at one point sit back and kind of try to relate to what it is he's happy doing, and that's only until you become a man or a woman and you start to understand what life's about, and then you start to go, okay, now I know where things that I'm insecure about matter and things that I'm secure about matter and what they mean, dissect everything. It's like being raised with a father who goes to the military,
That was mine. That was mine. I told you on the phone, remember? He would be gone 3 months at a time, 6 months at a time, a year at a time, which was crazy.
Yeah, I've experienced that once or twice also. And it's crazy, especially when you're close to your pops, and we're close to our dad, close enough to miss him. And when we were kids, we would, good memories, we would my mom would sit us down and be like, okay, we're going to write a letter to dad and we're going to fax it to his hotel room. And I remember this was like 96, 97. I'm drawing all these pictures because I was always an artist, like my mom before me and my father before me. And so I'm drawing all these pictures and all these notes and making sure my dad's following, my life kind of through like a diary effect, but through fax machine. And he would get them all and he would save them. And I remember years ago, I don't know if we still have it, but years ago, he opened up a box and it was like thousands of faxes from us as kids in the 90s with the dates and everything. And it was really cool to see that, and he kept it. So that also made me realize, okay, he didn't forget about us, Granted, we have a roof over our head and everything. Of course, that's the father's job to provide for his family, but he didn't forget about us here, And that's something that a lot of dads that go out and go through the roller coaster of life tend to do sometimes, and it's difficult because they're learning, they're young.
Let me tell you all something. What I did tonight, I did for my family, not for you. Not for me.
And we see it from our perspective, but like realizing, look, they're on the other side, they're missing us, right? Like we don't even realize, like we just see it from our perspective, especially as a kid, but it's got to be rough. Like, like your age or my age, like leaving. I don't have kids. I don't know if you do, but I can only imagine. I wouldn't want to be away from them. It had to be rough for your dad, obviously.
Yeah, it was. There were times when we would get really close, especially toward the late 90s when, he was trying to, come back into my mother's life and vice versa. It was a very fragile area of time because, he was coming down from a lot of stuff. We know the history. And he was getting his health back on the groove. And my mom was always there for him and always there to support. She never closed the door on him. She was always she was always in his corner, always, they had a history before we were born. So there's that foundation for their relationship,
Sure.
But yeah, no kids on my end. And if I were to have kids, it's something that I know I would be dealing with as well, because I love movies, and that's something that I want to do for the rest of my life, even if I just get 10 out in my lifetime, at least, it's something. But I want to express my spiritual purpose on this earth through films. And my kids, if I can bring them with me on set as much as possible, I will, because that's something I think Mel Gibson does a lot. And at one point, my father, I think he said let's just put my son in my movies. Let's just put him so he can be on set with me. And then we would have the custody things and do that. I'd fly to Thailand, be in the Quest. I was in Universal Soldier. And it was fun. That's what I wanted to do, just to be on set, do something.
Yeah, and I kind of figured it would have something to just be an easier way for your dad to be able to spend more time with you, because it's,
Sure.
so that's really cool. I mean, I knew you were in the Quest. I never knew until I seen like a YouTube video the other day. It's like, hey, he was in Universal Soldier too, And then
Yeah.
obviously I've seen you in Derailed. That's when you first showed off like your martial arts. You like your
Oh,
spinning hook
Derailed.
kick.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Derailed.
Horrible movie. I won't even defend that one, even though I'm a huge Van Damme fan. I won't even defend that one, man.
Oh goodness. I remember the audition I did for Derailed. It was 2001, I think, or 2000. And we had just moved from the Valley to Santa Monica. And I remember my dad said, okay, I'm going to do a little reading, video reading for you. And you're going to be next to me in the movie. It's cool. I said, okay, yeah, cool. And so we did a reading together. He read me the lines. It was really cool. I was stiff as a board. So I was nervous. And he kind of walked me through the acting process. And this is when he was just getting into the good acting process after Derailed. I think Replicant was after Derailed or before. Can't really remember. But it was getting into that process of becoming characters,
Oh,
And
yeah, sure.
it was really cool. Ringo Lam is the director who brought him into that world. He talks very highly of Ringo as well as a director. Great director. But I did Maximum Risk, I think it was.
I love that movie. Yeah, he did. That's what they started with. Sure.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, and so I remember he said Christian Slater's son was reading for the role as well, I think, and I said, oh, I have competition, so I really want to step up my game, and I tried my best, and I got the part. Who knows if they saw the film and saw the reading, and so like how it is, to make my pops happy because he's more bankable, they probably put me in the film. But it was a fun experience because we got to work with some really good actors on that film. The film was terrible, and I say that in all due respect. It wasn't the best film. It was one of the worst films, I think.
I've said that numerous times. I actually quoted a thing on my channel, so bad it's derailed.
Yeah. But it is what it is. We go like this, but we always try to stay. My dad always gave me a good point. No matter how low the budget is, no matter how high the budget is, always remain good in your acting the best you can.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll always they can't fuck you in the editing room, and it's something that always stuck to me. So I try to always be the more stoic, neutral type of acting, like to because it's all inside more than it is expressive, and that's something that I tried to do as a kid with Derailed. I did not do that. It was one of my first movies. It was terrible. Yeah, got to show some martial arts, and that was fun. I remember outside the hotel room, there was a young fan about my age. I was 16, I think. And he comes up to me and he says, he's Bulgarian kid from Sham, Bulgaria. And he says, can you do the kick like this? And he did a 360 roundhouse. And I said, a reverse roundhouse. And I said, yeah. And I did the kick in front of him. And they said, can you do it fast? And he did it really fast. And I was like, yeah, I can do it. And I did it really fast. And I was so close to falling, but I didn't. I caught myself back to the standing position. And it was a really cool moment. I felt like, okay, I can follow in my father's footsteps here.
Nice.
But as I grew up, I realized it's not what I wanted to do. As I grew up, and I competed in martial arts. I competed for numerous, I think about 8 to 10 years. I competed in Taekwondo and a bit of Shotokan.
Real quick, Kris. Yeah, let's break down the martial arts training. So, like, at what age did you start? And did you start training with your dad, or did he put you like in a class or get you a private instructor first? In the next video, we'll of course cover the martial arts training that Kris had with his dad, Jean-Claude, that he had without his father, and more.